Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sadoya, and in today's video I really want to share something with you. Are you a self-condemning person, or are you a person who is very judgmental or likes to cast judgment? And if you're not pretty sure, then stick around. The advice and the devotion will be very encouraging. So I want to just back up with a little story or a background story. And that is about last year. For me, it was very challenging. It's hard when someone hurts you. If you're like me, it's hard when you are the one that hurts somebody else. And oftentimes it's easier for me to forgive others rather than to forgive myself, especially if I'm the one who caused someone to hurt. And I had a huge question to God, and that I needed him to answer for me personally. And it took some time, but I think I finally got the answer. We can turn our Bibles to 2 Samuel chapter 12. And in the previous chapter, it's about the story of Bathsheba and what happened with David and the fact that she had, conceived after their adulterous relationship. And then, David calls for Uriah. No matter what he did, he could not get him to go home to cover his sins. So he sends this loyal soldier with his own death sentence. And Uriah dies in battle. He then takes Bathsheba, marries her, and thinks that maybe his sins have been covered. But it wasn't so with God. And of course, somebody had to die, and the child dies. I think David repented for his sins, but there were a couple things still lingering that needed to be removed. And that's what we're going to talk about. Nathan the prophet comes to David and talks to him. He gives him the story of this rich man versus this poor man, and how the rich man had a lot of flock. He had herds. And this poor man had one lamb. A traveler comes to see the rich man, and the rich man doesn't take from his own flock. He goes and takes the poor man's lamb, slays it to feed his company. And this outraged David. David was so angry. He was like, what? And this was his response to Nathan in 2 Samuel chapter 12 verse 5. And David's anger was greatly kindled against the man. And he said to Nathan, as the Lord liveth, the man that hath done this thing shall surely die. He later moves on to say in verse 6, and he shall restore the lamb fourfold. And we know the story pretty well. Nathan tells David that he's the man. And I've read the story a million times, and I don't know if you've ever gotten it this way, but let me know in the comments down below. The same judgment that you would put on someone else will be met out to you. David says, this man shall surely die, and he shall restore fourfolds. David didn't realize that the judgment that he was casting on this man was him. Do we often do that? Are we casting judgment on people that sometimes we cannot bear it? And I'm going to personalize it, because the person that hurt me really hurt me, and I thought some really horrible things. And I said, after reading this devotion, Lord, I could not handle the things that I would wish for that person. And the Lord allowed me to see that judgment is His. Because when others hurt us, we have to remember that we hurt God. And God sees both sides. He is a God who stands up for justice. And so when He is so just that He cannot allow things to go unpunished, and we in our ignorant minds casting judgment on others, not realizing that the very thing that we speak from our lips, wishing for others, is going to be met out to us, or can be met out to us. And I'm sure that when we think about it, treating others like how we would want to be treated, we wouldn't want such harsh judgments that we cast on other people. And the other aspect of it is what He said. The person should die, and that it should be restored unto him fourfold. I just want to read something from Patriarch and Prophet, the first paragraph. It says, had David's unwitting sentence upon himself had been David's unwitting sentence, he shall surely die. He shall restore fourfold. He shall restore fourfold had been David's unwitting sentence upon himself. On listening to the prophet Nathan's parable, and according to his own sentence, he was to be judged. 4 of his sons must fall, and the loss of each would be a result of the father's sin. So guys, the lesson that I get from this is be careful. Be careful how we judge others. And what I have found in my short lifespan is the never say never. Never say this could never happen to me, because that just might. And the next thing that I want to bring out, which I think is sort of the opposite, is a self-condemning spirit. Because this very David who, cast this huge judgment upon himself, really, was condemning his own self for the sins that he had done. And this was bad because it prevented him from being able to make moral decisions. Why do I say that? Amnon